First Florida man, endo de soto. First Florida man, first Florida man was Hernando de Soto. Won't you so loco? Show off your photos, throw out your Twinkies, throw up your ho-hos, tuck in them pinkies. Them shits a no-no. The first Florida man was Hernando de Soto. Brought to my attention by the man with the mojo. My 8 subscriber, I'm a fagoso. Jump in them sinkies and dump them mimosos. The first Florida man was Hernando de Soto. First Florida man was Hernando de Soto. First Florida man was Hernando de Soto.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. How's everybody doing today? Good, I hope. Did you guys have a good 4th of July? I want to hear about it in the chat. I had a great time. I had very close friends in town since Thursday night, and they just went home this morning. I'm very happy to have my house back, but it was so good to spend time with them. And we do this pretty much every year. We went to a little fireworks show, out to dinner and a little fireworks show on the 4th of July. And then I had a big party at my house yesterday for the 4th of July. And that's always a good time. Dave smoked some meat. I made all the sides. People brought stuff. Quite honestly, I think as soon as the stream is done, I will be eating some leftover key lime pie before I go to bed. That's the plan for the rest of the day. But first, we got to talk about stuff that's been happening. Have you guys heard about this Brian Koberger thing? I have. I really should have streamed this live when it was happening, but unfortunately, I have an actual real job. This happened on Wednesday. So I was working and it happened during the day. But I wanted to talk about it. So just in case you guys don't know what I'm talking about, Brian Koberger is the guy that he was arrested for the murder of the 4 college students in Idaho in 2022, and they had tracked his cell phone, and his cell phone was in the vicinity, and they basically had a lot of evidence against him. Not only was his cell phone like where it was supposed to be, he got picked up. His car was picked up on the Ring cameras from all the neighbors. And then the nail in the coffin is he left his knife sheath. He had a K-bar knife, which is funny, as a Marine Corps K-bar knife, which my husband literally has the exact same Marine Corps K-bar knife. And in the Dave cave where I keep him locked up most of the time. He has one down there. I should have went and got it so I could show you guys. But the sheath of the knife, he lost it at the murder at the crime scene. So underneath one of the like the flap of where the button is for the sheath, his DNA was on there. So that's where we're at up until a week ago. 6 days ago. And then on Monday, he made an announcement to the court that he wanted to change his plea. This trial was literally supposed to start jury selection next week. And then the trial was supposed to be at the end of July. All right, so let's see who's here. John's here, Erica's here, all of the usual suspects. Mark, good to see you. Kfar, welcome. Welcome. Erica, did I say Erica? I probably did. If I missed you, I still see you. I'm thinking about you. I don't want to call out everybody because, who's got time for that? I was just making small talk while I was looking for the correct buttons to push, to be fair. All right, so let's see what happens here. We know what happens. He ends up changing it to pleading guilty, which the families, by the way, of the murdered students were not happy about, but also, what if he were to be found not guilty? What if they went all the way to trial and the jury didn't there's some explanation for why, like cross-contamination at the lab or something where they could explain away the DNA, and then he goes free. So unfortunately, the family's not in charge of how it's prosecuted. I know they try to take into advisement what the family wants. A lot of times, if the family is completely anti-death penalty, they'll take that into account, things like that. But in this case, the families were very involved and they wanted him prosecuted to the fullest extent, maximum punishments, all of that. So he took a plea deal.
All right, this is CR 0124316665. Defendant is present in custody with counsel, Ms. Thompson, Ms. Jennings, and, Ms. Taylor, Ms. Massoff, and Ms. Barlow. The state's present.
Do you want to hear something funny? So, in the chat, Katie did a great and immediate show on it. Go back and watch it. Stellar detail, professional coverage. I don't even remember. I think I've been doing this too long. I don't remember doing that. I remember following the case. I don't remember doing a show on it, but apparently I did, and it was awesome. So there you have it. Also,
With Mr. Thompson.
That comment was from my
Thompson,
mom,
Mr.
so take that with a grain of salt.
Horowitz, Ms. Jennings, and Mr. Nye is here as well. Am I miss anybody? I'm sorry.
Ms. Allen is here as well.
Ms.
Your
Allen
Honor.
is here as well. Very well, thank you. All right, we are here today to entertain a change of plea. Before I start, I want to address some issues of concern and otherwise. First, I appreciate everybody in attendance today being on their best behavior. Please, no outbursts or demonstrations. Any such conduct will result in immediate removal and may result in an inability to attend further court proceedings in this case. I want to point out that there have been calls by some for the public to contact me and my office in an attempt to influence my decision-making in this case. This has been extraordinarily disruptive for court staff and the ability for them to get work done, not only in this case, but in other cases where defendants are entitled to have their cases processed and, frankly, as important, if not more so, for victims.
By the way, in case you guys are wondering, this is him right here with the lighter colored shirt and looks like gray tie, second over at the defense table. Man, he's got a punchable face, doesn't he?
To have their cases.
I forgot the other bit of evidence. There was another roommate. Well, there was two other roommates that did not get killed that night. And one of the roommates saw his face and he did have like a COVID mask on, but she saw his eyes and his eyebrows. And the last thing that happened right before he decided to change his plea deal is his defense attorneys were trying to get her description of his eyebrows thrown out. Because I don't know why she's an eyewitness. I don't know why they thought that would work. But the judge ruled that she can testify to what she saw, including his bushy eyebrows. So
processed in those cases. It's also highly inappropriate. A court is not supposed to, and this court will never, take into account public sentiment in making an opinion regarding its judicial decisions in cases. Courts should, and I always will, make decisions based on where the facts and the law lead me, period. I have not read any of the numerous messages nor listened to any of the numerous voicemails that have been sent to me and my staff. Those have all been forwarded to security and, where appropriate, to law enforcement. I ask that you not continue to mount such campaigns or to send me information like this because, again, it is not appropriate and, frankly, not something I would take into account when deciding a matter in a case like this. I also want people to understand some very basic concepts about the ideas of separation of powers and what the court's duties are and what the duties and the rights of the executive, or in this case, the prosecuting attorney, is. The executive, the elected prosecutor, is the sole authority in deciding what charges to pursue.
This judge is basically saying, yeah, I saw you guys, general public. I saw that you guys wanted to get a hold of me and let me know what you thought, but I did not look at any of that. Now, I understand him not looking at all that. However, the way he just said that was kind of he's kind of being a dick, right? I sped it up a little bit.
Including whether, as well as what penalties to ask for and what penalties to pursue, including the death penalty. This court cannot require the prosecutor to seek the death penalty, nor would it be appropriate for this court to attempt to do that. This court, in considering a plea agreement, if it were to reject this plea agreement, cannot force the state to seek the death penalty. My role and power in considering a plea agreement is extremely limited. My role is to ensure that the defendant's plea is given freely, voluntarily, and intelligently. If those things are met, I can only reject a plea, such as the one in this case, where I'm not being asked to agree to the sentence in advance.
Right, well, we did need a little puppy break. It's getting a little intense now. So thank you very much, Steve Cousins, for renewing your membership. Oh, I have no dog treats here because the last 3 days, this was no longer my office. It was a guest room. So I'm going to let this play and I'm going to grab some milk bones and I'll be right back.
I can only reject it, for example, if the defendant does not meet or admit to all the elements of the crime. That is, I can ensure what is called a factual basis to the plea. Finally, I want to offer my apologies to all the families, including the victims' families, the families of the defendant, for the short notice for today's hearing, and I'm sure what must have been the hurried efforts to get here. I, like most everyone else, learned of this plea agreement Monday afternoon and had no inkling of it beforehand. Prior to that time, I was under the belief that this case was proceeding to trial, as had been indicated, and my staff and I were busy continuing to work on preparations to have potentially 10,000 citizens of Ada County come to jury duty starting in mid-July, with the questionnaire process in mid-July.
Okay.
It was once I learned of.
We are back. We have dog treats. It's very exciting. Bandit, I did look into that, and it's Katie Z Crime on PayPal as well. Katie Z Crime. If you want to send stuff that way, let me know in the chat. Oh, it flew behind the bed. Sorry, Zena. Let me grab another one. She looks so sad. As if every single person in my house the last 3 days has not been sneaking them food. Also, when there's people around that aren't normally here, Zena acts like we give her no attention ever, which is crazy. She acts as if she never gets pet or she doesn't get ear scritches. She doesn't get treats. She gives people these puppy dog eyes. And then this 80-pound dog thinks she's a lap dog and tries to crawl into people's laps, especially if they're wearing black jeans. She's like, you cannot have black jeans in this house. I'm going to turn them light brown. All right, let's get back to this case.
Of the defendant's decision to change his plea in this case, it was important that I take the plea as soon as possible because of the extraordinary administrative efforts that were otherwise attendant to the process of this getting this trial potentially underway on time, and including the significant process of bringing, again, potentially up to 10,000 jurors to come in and fill out juror questionnaires prior to the beginning of the voir dire process. And so it was important that we, if we're going to go down this road, do so expeditiously so that we can avoid those costs and expenses associated with that. Otherwise, if it was not going to result in a plea, or if for some reason the plea were to fall through today, that we could continue diligently towards trial at the time specified. And so that obviously required that we act quickly. And so some folks may have not had the amount of time that we would otherwise allow for them to travel here. And so, again, I apologize for that. I want to make people aware that during the hearing, if you are to leave the courtroom for any reason, you will not be readmitted during the hearing. Also, when we finish the
We are
hearing this
not
morning,
even to the hearing yet. He's just giving us the rules of the hearing. I think that this judge thinks like this is my 15 minutes of fame. I better make it count because who knows when something else is going to happen in Idaho. And funnily enough, something else did happen in Idaho, and I'm going to cover that after this. But he didn't know that.
I ask that the public and media wait in their seats until the victims' families and the defendants' families and others are escorted out of the courtroom before you start to leave. Finally, I want to acknowledge the trial court administrator and her staff, the Ada County Sheriff, and the Ada County 4th District Marshal Service for the huge lift that they've accomplished in preparing for and orchestrating this hearing today, as well as to all the security attendant today that you see, and some of whom many of whom you don't see, with less than 48 hours notice. And so I appreciate the hard work that they've been doing. Frankly, some of them while they were on some vacation prior to the trial starting and had to call that short. And so I appreciate very much their professionalism and dedication. All right. That said, let's move to the business of today. I understand the state and the defense have reached a plea agreement in this case. For the record, I have a written plea agreement which indicates in sum, the defendant will plead guilty to all 5 counts in the indictment, burglary, felony, and first-degree murder, 4 counts. The state and the defendant stipulate, that is, that the defense is not free to argue for a lesser sentence at sentencing to the following. The defendant on the burglary charge will be sentenced to 10 years fixed, and that the defendant on counts 2 through 5, the 4 counts of first-degree homicide, on each count would receive a fixed life sentence, all 5 of those counts to run consecutive to one another. Defendant, as part of the plea agreement, waives his right to appeal, as well as his right to appeal the sentence and his right to seek a leniency or reconsideration of the sentence under Idaho Criminal Rule 35. This is not a Rule 11 agreement, meaning the court is not bound by the plea agreement and could impose a different lawful sentence at sentencing. The stipulated agreement between the parties is the maximum on each count. So theoretically, the only thing the court could do would be a lesser sentence at sentencing. But the defendant is not free to ask the court to do so under the plea agreement. Are there any other material terms of the plea agreement that the parties would like to make? Obviously, the plea agreement, the written plea agreement will speak for itself and be part of the court record.
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Right, very well. All right. Ms. Taylor, have you had sufficient time to discuss this case and all of its ramifications with your client?
I have, Your Honor.
Have you discussed fully with him his rights, defenses, and possible consequences to him of the guilty plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you been able to do all the discovery you feel necessary?
Yes, Your Honor.
And have you informed your client of the importance of providing the court truthful and accurate answers in taking this plea today?
I have.
Have you apprised your client of any and all offers and counteroffers and answered his questions about those?
Yes,
Do you consent to the entry of the plea today?
I do.
All right, Mr. Koberger, I need to ask you some questions this afternoon, or I guess it's this morning still. I do this to ensure that so that I am assured that you understand the nature of the charges to which I understand you're going to plead guilty, as well as the possible consequences to you of your guilty pleas. I want to make sure your plea is given voluntarily, and I want to make sure that you actually committed the crimes to which you're pleading guilty, because I don't want you to plead guilty to a crime you didn't commit. If you attempt to plead guilty today, but for some reason I don't accept your plea, then it is possible that your statements today could be used against you later at trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And now, while you're standing, actually,
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what my PayPal is and find a link to it in case I wasn't paying attention. But thank you very much, Major Victory, for the $5 super chat. I do have the smaller treats here, but I grabbed it when I went in there to get the other treats. which, by the way, we cleared out our back kitchen counter for the party, like to use as a buffet. So all of this stuff, like their dog food and everything, is in our bedroom right now still. Just kind of a weird place to have it. But I got some good treats too. So anybody, if you do $10 or up, I'll just give them a good treat as well. There you go, sweetie. There you go. Zena? And Zena caught it for you. How about that?
Why don't you take the oath from the clerk?
Please raise your hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in the matter now given before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, and Mr. Coburg, just to make it easier, you don't need to stand when you speak to me. I appreciate the sign of respect, but for convenience, you can remain seated, all right? Before I start asking you questions today, have you consumed, substantive questions, let me ask you, have you consumed any alcohol, drug, or other intoxicating substance that would impair your ability to understand or exercise reasonable judgment?
No.
You feel like you are thinking clearly today?
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the possible penalties are for each of the crimes to which I understand you're going to offer a guilty plea today. They include on count one, the burglary, a fine of up to $50,000 and a period of incarceration of up to 10 years in the state penitentiary. You may be required to pay restitution to any victims of the crime. Count 2, 3, 4, and 5 for first-degree murder. The consequences include a fine of up to $50,000, a period of incarceration of life imprisonment, which is a requirement of a sentence, that it be a life sentence with a mandatory minimum sentence of at least 10 years on each of those counts. In addition, you would be potentially responsible for a fine of up to $5,000 to each of the victims of your crime, to be enforced in the form of a civil judgment, to operate as additional punishment. This is in excess of any restitution or fines that the court could order. And again, you may be required to pay restitution to the victims of the crime. You would be required to provide, as to counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, a DNA sample and a right thumbprint impression, and potentially pay for analysis of those samples. You would lose any right to possess, purchase, or carry a firearm, the right to serve on jury duty, the right to hold public office, and the right to vote. Do you understand the charges and all those possible consequences?
Yes.
You've heard the plea agreement that I talked about today. Do you agree with that plea agreement?
Yes.
And do you understand the nature of the charges that you've been charged with that I understand you're going to plead guilty today to?
Yes.
As I indicated, I'm not bound by the plea agreement, but the plea agreement is for the maximum on each count. Do you understand that I'm not bound by the plea agreement?
Yes.
Has anyone promised you that I would be lenient or easy on you if you pled guilty?
No.
Has anyone threatened you or anyone close to you to get you to plead guilty?
No.
Has anyone, other than the state's agreements with respect to the plea agreement, has anyone promised you anything in exchange for your plea agreement?
No.
Has anyone told you to be untruthful in answering my questions today?
No.
Has anyone offered you a reward of any kind other than the plea agreement in order to get you to plead guilty today?
No.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
And counsel, obviously there have been a number of motions filed to suppress evidence in this case. Other than those filed, are there any other motions that you felt were available with respect to Rule 12?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Coburg, you understand that by entering the guilty plea in this case, you would be giving up your right to appeal any decision this court made, as well as your sentence.
Yes.
Have you had enough time to decide whether or not to plead guilty?
Yes.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Given your choices, do you believe it's in your best interest to plead guilty?
Yes.
Have you discussed fully the matter of pleading guilty with your attorney, and are you satisfied with the advice you've received?
Yes.
Has your attorney advised you to your satisfaction about what your rights are, what your defenses may be, and what the possible consequences to you of your guilty plea are?
Yes.
Has your attorney done everything you've asked them to do?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with their representation of you?
Yes.
I have received a written guilty plea advisory questionnaire that is purported to be filled out by you. Did you fill that document out?
Yes.
Did you understand the questions that you answered in this document?
Yes.
And are the answers that are outlined in this document your answers?
Yes.
Are those answers truthful?
Yes.
Did you sign the document?
Yes.
And this document outlines many of the rights that you have in this.
Thank you, Bandit, for sending on PayPal. I'm not as familiar with PayPal, so I couldn't figure out how to even get what my app was. I thought that's what it was, and I did get it. So I'm glad I was right, because if I wasn't, I have no idea what I'm doing, but we will give the dog some treats. I appreciate that. Actually, they get good treats. And it took me a while, but I got what you were talking about in my comment section, and every single cent that you all sent to KFAR's PayPal the other day did come to me immediately after the show, and I will see Maria to give her all of that money. It's another $240 after the $300 we already got for her. She's already got $300. I have another $240 to go to her when I see her in next week. It's the 14th, whenever that is. I guess that's a week from Monday. I'm not sure. Have no concept of time or space. So, but I will see her in person on the 14th. I did have a very nice phone call with her the day that she received the first check. So I'll see if she will go on camera and say hi to you guys. I'm not going to force her to, though, if she doesn't want to. But I'm going to meet with Shane from North Georgia Audit on that day as well. And I know he'll go on camera, Thank you, Bandit.
This case, should you not plead guilty, did you understand those rights?
Yes.
They include a right to a jury trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to the presumption of innocence. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You have the right to require the state to prove your guilt as to each element beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to confront your accusers and cross-examine witnesses presented by the state, including by utilizing the subpoena power of the court to accomplish that. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You understand you would have a privilege against self-incrimination and a right to remain silent, meaning you would not be compelled to testify if you did not wish to, had you not pled guilty.
Yes.
You understand you're giving up that privilege and those rights that I've just outlined by pleading guilty.
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the state would have had to have proven at trial had you, to the crimes that you're pleading guilty to, had you.
I want you guys to understand, I know this is all kind of repetitive and boring, but when you think about it, the judge is going through every single possible thing that he can claim after the fact he didn't understand to take it back. He wants to make sure that this guy cannot take back this guilty plea. He wants to make sure there's no there's no loophole, there's no crack to open to take it back later. I don't have Cash App, and I will never get Cash App. So I've done enough. Like if you guys don't want to use the PayPal or the Venmo, you can definitely just super chat or Rumble Rant. I'm on Rumble too. So the Rumble only takes 20%.
If you didn't plead guilty, let me find the document. Hang on a second here. All right.
And it's not that I don't want you guys to, I love that you support my show, but I'm not smart enough to have all these apps. You don't understand. It's two plus my banking app plus it's a lot, and I'm old. So please forgive me.
So as to count one burglary, the state would have to have proven that on or about November 13, 2022 in Latah County, Idaho, you unlawfully entered a residence located at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder. As to count 2, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogen, a human being, by stabbing Madison Mogen, from which she died. As to count 3, the state would have had to have proven that on that same date in Latah County, at that same address, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. As to count 4, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. And then as to count 5, also murder in the first degree, that on or about November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being, by stabbing him, from which he died. Do you understand those things the state would have had to have proven?
Yes.
And you understand that by pleading guilty, the state no longer has to prove those things because you're admitting those things are true?
Yes.
I want to also make, for the record, the defendant has provided with the guilty plea advisory form a document entitled Written Factual Basis that purports to have the defendant's signature dated 1 July 2025. Did you sign that document?
Yes.
And did you agree with the written factual basis that is included there?
Yes.
And then let me ask you, did you, on November 13th, 2022, enter the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder?
Yes.
Did you, on November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, kill and murder Madison Mogen, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
Did you, on or about that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
And did you, on that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
And then on or about November 13th, 2022, again in Latah County, Idaho, did you kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being?
Yes.
Did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
I would ask the state at this time to provide its recitation of its factual basis had this case gone to trial.
Thank you, Your Honor.
right.
Your Honor, the organization of the rest.
Good time for a puppy break. Thank you very much, Cool Clearwater and family. I appreciate that very much. We will take a puppy break. And they get the good treats. Actually, I know it's not because I don't want to give them all of the treats, but they just had one of these, so I'm going to break one of these in half for them. There goes Zena. All right. I just don't want to. I don't know how many more of those you guys are going to do, and I don't want them to like get sick. You know what I'm saying? It's different with the mini milk bones, but anything over $10, I give them a good treat. And oh, I don't know. That's one thing I don't need right now is sick dogs in my house. Thank you so much. I appreciate the support, every single one of you. Just by being here, you're supporting me. By hitting the like button, you support me. By commenting after the fact, you support me. By sharing, if you think it's worth sharing, you support me. And I appreciate every single one of you.
Recitation is different than what I think the court and the public may be familiar with from the probable cause affidavit and other documents. The state's evidence, as an overview, would show that back in March of 2022, when the defendant was residing at his parents' residence or was residing back in Pennsylvania, his home state, he purchased online a K-bar knife and sheath with an Amazon gift card that he had purchased shortly prior to the purchase of the knife, sheath, and sharpener. Jumping ahead, the end of June of that year, the defendant, Mr. Koberger, moved from Pennsylvania to Pullman, Washington, which is right across the state line from Moscow, Idaho, for the purpose of pursuing a PhD in criminal justice at Washington State University. The state's evidence would indicate that beginning July 9th of 2022, Mr. Koberger's phone began connecting to a cell tower that serves the area of the 1122 King Road residence in Moscow, Idaho. Now, I will acknowledge for the court and all present that there are many residences in that area. It's a dense population of mostly college-related occupants. Between July 9th of 2022 and November 7th,
that is a very good question, Jim Bob. He says, I wonder if that psychic idiot is going to claim that he is lying to cover up for somebody else and start a whole new lawsuit against her. I covered that lady too, and I forget what her name is, but there's this woman on TikTok like claiming some random professor at this college had a fling with the male victim in this case. It was a whole thing, and she had to be, first of all, they sent a cease and desist. She did not cease or desist, and there was a whole lawsuit about it. I haven't followed up on it, so I don't know what exactly happened. I know she was representing herself, so that was interesting. Maybe I'll look into it and do a follow-up on that too.
Defendant's phone connected to that particular tower during late night, early morning hours, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. on approximately 23 times. Now, I will acknowledge also, we do not have evidence that the defendant had direct contact with 1122 or with residents of 1122, but we can put his phone in that area on those times. In the interim, on August 22nd of 2022, Lake Tahoe County Sheriff's Deputy Darren Duke conducted a traffic stop in the early morning hour or late evening hours, about 11 p.m. On the west side of Moscow, on the Moscow-Pullman Road. This was a traffic stop of Mr. Koberger's car, which turned out to be a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plates. During the course of the traffic stop, Deputy Duke was able to obtain Mr. Koberger's name, Brian Koberger, his phone number, and his address, which at that point was an apartment address in Pullman.
So Steve is asking if he pled guilty, why are they going over the evidence? Why are they still going over the evidence? Obviously, because they know that everybody here on the Katie's Ed Crime Channel want to see it and know what's happening. So they were very nice, and they're going over it for us. Specifically, like you right here, that's why this is happening. And Mr. Zed brought up the K-bar. This is the exact same one that he had. I wanted to show you guys this because it was kind of confusing. The way they said the DNA that they found was underneath the snap right here on the sheath. There's a snap. And from what I understand, it was like up. Let me do it with this. Did I disconnect my microphone? Are you guys there? Hello? Can you hear me? I'm not sure. So up underneath this inside of this snap here, like inside there, is where the DNA was found. But this is literally the exact same one with the Marine Corps on it. Is the one that he used on these four college students. And when I found that out and I knew that we had this in the house, or right, like we already had this, I'm like, that's scary. But also if anybody breaks in here, you know, it's a pretty good knife, apparently.
We then move to the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. The state's evidence would show that early morning hours on that day, Mr. Koberger's phone left his Pullman residence, which is an apartment in kind of the central northwest part of Pullman. That phone was then subsequently turned off at approximately 2:54 a.m. and remained off until approximately 4:48 a.m. on Sunday, the 13th of November. The state's evidence would include a trial, video surveillance of a business on the Moscow-Pullman highway, just across the state line from Moscow, that would show a vehicle matching the description of the defendant's Hyundai Elantra.
Are you guys hearing double? Like, is this video playing double audio, or is it my computer doing that?
entering Moscow at approximately 3:02 a.m. Compiled surveillance that the investigators put together from businesses and residents then show the defendant's car, the white Elantra, as I've described, circling the 1122 King Road area, that neighborhood, starting around 3:30 or so in the morning. Comes into the immediate area of 1122 King Road, which is actually on a dead end, and then leaves several times.
I don't know where
And
that's coming
approximately
from.
4:05 that morning, the defense car had entered that area, was leaving, stopped at the intersection of King and Queen Road, did a U-turn, and the state's
I don't know if that's the video, like, or if something happened with my settings. It's so weird. Just all of a sudden that let me reload it. Let's see, where are we at? 142.51.
then show the defendant's car, the white Elantra, as I've described, circling the 1122 King Road area, that
I think it's Law and Crime. I don't think it's me. I think it's Law and Crime with the echo.
neighborhood, starting around 3:30 or so in the morning. Comes into the immediate area of 1122 King Road, which is actually on a dead end, and then leaves several times.
I know how to see. Let's see if it was doing that back here.
Sentence under Idaho Criminal Rule 35.
Okay, so it's their video. It's the video that's doing it.
4:48 a.m. on Sunday, the 13th of November. The state's evidence would include a trial, video surveillance of a business on the Moscow-Pullman Highway, just across the state line from Moscow. It would show a vehicle matching the description of the defendant's Hyundai Elantra.
Thank you, Chuck. Okay, so it's apparently it's not even Law and Crime. It is from the courtroom. Whoever's doing the audio visual in the courtroom, that's where it's coming from. I just checked every single setting I could possibly find on all of my entire system trying to fix that echo, but it's not me, so I can't fix it. Sorry, this is just how it is.
Entering Moscow at approximately 3:02 a.m. Compiled surveillance that the investigators put together from businesses and residents then show the defendant's car, the white Elantra, as I've described, circling the 1122 King Road area, that neighborhood, starting around 3:30 or so in the morning. Comes into the immediate area of 1122 King Road, which is actually on a dead end, and then leaves several times. And approximately 4:05 that morning, the defense car had entered that area, was leaving, stopped at the intersection of King and Queen Road, did a U-turn, and the state's evidence would show that the defendant's car came back and parked behind and above the 1122 King Road residence. The state believes that its evidence would then show that the defendant entered the residence
I think they fixed the echo. I think they fixed it. Nice.
of 1122 through the kitchen sliding door on the back side of the residence, which is the side of the residence that would face the area above where the defendant's car was parked. The defendant entered the residence, went to the third floor, and with a knife, killed Madison Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez. The defendant, as he left that room, for whatever reason, ended up leaving, or the sheath for a K-bar knife was left on the bed next to Madison Mogan's body.
What's this?
And I can jump ahead. That sheath was tested by the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab, and single-source male DNA was found on the snap of that sheath, as well as blood from both Kaylee and Madison and other trace evidence. But it's important to note single-source male DNA was on the snap of that sheath. The state's evidence would show that Xana Knodel was still awake at this time. In fact, had taken a DoorDash order not long before this started. Her room was not on the third floor. It was on the second floor on the west side. As the defendant was either coming down the stairs or leaving, he encountered Xana, and he ended up killing her, also with a large knife. Ethan Chapin, Xana's boyfriend, was asleep in her bedroom, and the defendant killed him as well with a large fixed-blade knife. Each victim suffered multiple wounds. I will state for the record that there is no evidence there was any sexual component or sexual assault on any of the victims. I want to make that clear so there's no speculation. There were two other roommates in the house, and they were already asleep. During the course of this, one of those roommates awoke, looked out her door not knowing what was going on, and saw the defendant, who was dressed in black with a black balaclava on, holding some sort of container in his hand. And she saw him leave the house through the direction of the kitchen where that sliding door is that I mentioned before. At approximately 4:20 that morning, so this would have been 15 minutes or so later, the defendant's car is seen on a surveillance camera for 1112 King Road, which is immediately next door to the west of 1122, leaving the area at a high rate of speed. And if the court were to see that, or anybody in this courtroom were to see that, you can see the car almost loses control as it makes the corner, heads north, and then turns to go south on Walinta, which is one of the only ways to get out of that part of town. The evidence would show that following that, the defendant in his Elantra drove south of Moscow. We know that he drove on the back roads because there are surveillance cameras on the main highways, Highway 95, that would have picked up the defendant's car if he'd gone that route. And they did not show the defendant's car on that route during the time. So we know that he went through a variety of back roads in very rural, isolated part of Latah County. About 4:48 that morning, the defendant's phone comes back on. And the evidence will show that that phone was located south of Moscow, likely at a side road intersection with Highway 95. From there, the defendant's phone activity tracks heading back north towards Pullman, Washington, where the defendant lived. About 5:26, starting approximately 5:26, various surveillance cameras in Pullman, Washington pick up the defendant's vehicle as he enters Pullman from the south and heads north and slightly west towards his apartment, where he arrived at approximately 5:30 in the morning. Later that morning, Sunday, the 13th of November of 2022, Mr. Koberger's phone returned to the area of King Road. We don't know exactly what he did, but it returned to that area. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. He was there for about 10 minutes and then returned to his Pullman residence. About 9:30, the state's evidence will show, evidence taken from the defendant's phone, that he took a selfie of himself on his phone in what appears to be the bathroom of his Pullman apartment with a thumbs up. The defendant's phone then went to the Lewiston-Clarkston Valley, approximately 30 miles south of Moscow and Pullman. And the defendant is actually seen with his car at various businesses down there. This area is the confluence of the Clearwater River and the Snake River. Lewiston is Idaho's seaport. Large bodies of moving water down there. In addition to tracing the defendant's activities, as I've just outlined, on the 13th and leading up to the 13th, the state's evidence will show that following Sunday, November 13th of 2022, business records show that the defendant began searching for a K-bar knife and a K-bar knife sheath.
Oh,
as the state
yeah.
believes, to replace the one that was left.
I forgot about that part. Immediately after the murders, he realized he lost the sheath to his knife. So he ditched the knife itself. He lost the sheath somewhere and ditched the knife somewhere, and he was looking online on like Amazon and other sites to try to replace it, to try to get a new one to replace it. Yeah, I totally forgot about that part when I was giving you guys the summary before this started.
At the scene of the murders. The evidence also will suggest that there were at least attempts by the defendant to delete or alter his purchase history on Amazon, where all these transactions had occurred. Later that week, the state's evidence will show that Mr. Koberger went to what we would call DMV, motor vehicle licensing here in Idaho, in Pullman, to change his car registration from Pennsylvania to Washington. That's of note because Pennsylvania cars do not require a front license plate. The vehicles seen on the surveillance cameras of the defendant's car showed it didn't have a front license plate on it. At the time of the traffic stop by Deputy Duke in August, it was Pennsylvania plate, no front license plate. Mr. Koberger proceeded to finish his semester of studies at Washington State University and returned to Pennsylvania for the holidays. Law enforcement at this point were aware of Mr. Koberger, had been accessing information about him, were trying to find him. They located him in Pennsylvania, and they conducted what's called a trash pull. During the nighttime hours, agents of the FBI, who assisted immensely with this case, working with the sanitation department back in this neighborhood in Pennsylvania, took trash that had been set out on the street for collection, sent the contents of that from the Pennsylvania residence of the defendant's parents to the Idaho State Forensic Laboratory, where the lab experts there were able to identify DNA on a Q-tip as coming from the father of the person whose DNA was found on the knife sheath that was next to Madison Mogan's body in the bed. Subsequently, an arrest warrant was issued here in Idaho, and a search warrant was issued in the state of Pennsylvania with the assistance not only of the FBI, but the Pennsylvania State Police. Mr. Koberger was arrested at his parents' home to return to Idaho. Upon his return to Idaho, a DNA sample was taken from him, and it matched the DNA found on the knife sheath next to Maddie's body at the crime scene. I can tell the court, the public, the weapon itself, the knife, has not yet been recovered. I can tell the court that the defendant's apartment in Pullman was searched, as well as his office. Spartan would be a kind characterization. There was virtually nothing there. Nothing of evidentiary value was found. And of course, we are now talking 6-8 weeks after the time of the killings. In Pennsylvania, the defendant's car was seized, and it was actually pretty much disassembled internally. And it also had been cleaned. There was a bucket of cleaner right beside it. I think we can all look to our own cars, you know, in those compartments in the doors. We try to keep them clean where you put stuff. There's always some degree of crud in there. They were spotless. The defendant's car had been meticulously cleaned inside. And the state would present to the jury that that was part of the defendant's plan in covering up this. The defendant has studied crime. In fact, he did a detailed paper on crime scene processing when he was working on his pre-doctorate degrees, and he had that knowledge and skill. So, Your Honor, at the end, the state submits that the evidence that I've given just a quick overview of, and that to present in court would consume weeks, which the state is prepared to do and has been prepared to do, would show that as the defendant has just admitted and pleaded guilty on November 13th, 2022, excuse me, Mr. Koberger entered the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. He did that with the intent to kill. We will not represent that he intended to commit all of the murders that he did that night, but we know that that is what resulted, and that he then killed intentionally, willfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice forethought, Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Ethan Chapin, and Santa Cruz. Thank you.
Thank you.
He barely made it through that. He started choking up at the end. I don't think I would have made it through that. That's difficult to get through. I can see why he had trouble.
All right. Based on the state's proffer, and importantly, based upon defendant's explicit admission to committing these crimes, the court finds there is a factual basis. Therefore, with respect to count one, burglary.
Steve Cousins asked, do they know why he did it? We don't know why he did it. And from what I understand, I've just read, I haven't watched this before. I haven't watched this hearing, but I read articles about it. I don't think that there's a requirement to do so. I don't think we will ever know unless he specifically decides he wants to let us know.
Felony. How do you plead,
I
Mr.
have
Koberger,
theories.
guilty or not guilty?
I have theories of why he did it, but he hasn't said.
Guilty.
Guilty.
As to count two, murder in the first degree, as it relates to the murder of Madison Mogan, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count three, as it relates to murder in the first degree for the murder of Kaylee Gonzalez, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count four, the first degree murder of Xana Kernodle, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count five, the first degree murder of Ethan Chapin, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Right. The court will find that the defendant understands the nature of the charges and each offense and the possible consequences to him of his guilty plea. The court finds that there is a factual basis for the plea and that finds the defendant believes the plea to be in his best interest. I find that the plea was given freely, voluntarily, and was intelligently made. I accept the plea. I direct that it be entered. I'll continue the matter for sentencing in this case. I think it was mentioned on the call Monday afternoon the defense wishes to waive a pretrial investigation. Is that accurate?
Yes, Your Honor.
The state also?
Yes, Your Honor, the state does not believe pre-sentence investigation is needed, given the evidence that is available. We want to, though, make sure that all of the victims have the opportunity to make statements to the court at sentencing.
Absolutely. And certainly both the state and the defense may present whatever sentencing memorandum and other documents you wish me to consider. The victims will be given an opportunity to provide the statements that they wish to at sentencing. Do we need more than one full day for sentencing?
I do not believe so, Your Honor. Obviously, we have numerous victims, and we have victims who share unique perspectives on this, and we want to make sure that they all have time to express their feelings to the court. But I believe that if we can start perhaps 8:30 or so in the morning, that we should be able to complete it all in one day.
Defense agree with that in terms of the time frame?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So as it happens, we have some time reserved in this case in July and August. The week of July 22nd is available. I don't know if that's too soon for the parties, or the next week, the week of August 4, is available. Any preference?
Yes, Judge. Actually, I would like to cover this case, and I have things going on the week of July 22nd. I specifically will be in Nashville on vacation. So if we could bump that back to August, that would be great.
Your Honor, we're
Do you think he's listening to me? you think he'll do it?
prepared as soon as the court wants to schedule it.
The state, I believe, would be prepared on the 22nd. We've told the victims' families that we're looking at approximately those dates.
All right. So because of the plan to bring in so many jurors to fill out questionnaires, I had ordered that no other trials could take place in this courthouse the week of July 22nd. And so we will use that in terms of the sentencing date because of what I'm sure will be the significant interest of the media and the public and the logistics that will be required to make that happen. Without trials going, it'll be a lot easier to do that. So let's pick that week. Why don't we pick July 23rd with the idea that if for some reason we don't finish, we could continue into the 24th. And we'll start at 9 in the morning. Does that give your team enough time, Sandra? 9 in the morning? All right. Any concerns with that date?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
No, sir.
All right. Any reason why I should not rescind the non-dissemination order at this time?
You're right. I think that given the history of this case, it would be best if that remained in place through sentencing, so we have time to make sure there's the ability to completely answer questions. That would be the state's preference and recommendation.
We'd have no objection for the order to remain in place through
All
sentencing.
right. I will, at this point, the idea to keep it until
Steve
sentencing,
Cousins asked
time,
in the
it-
chat, he said something about somebody being killed. We don't use unalived. It's not a word. We just say killed. We do that here too. I do not wish to diminish what has happened to these students by using fake words so I can get monetized with for ad revenue. You guys support me, and that's really all I need. If I can't put ads on this after the fact, I'm not going to diminish what these families have gone through. I'm not going to do it when somebody is violently raped. I'm not going to do it when children, young adults were violently murdered either. So that's just where I stand on it. You don't have to remove your comment. Long story short.
it would be withdrawn in order to give the parties the space and time to prepare to meet what I'm sure will be the deluge of media requests. That's at least my preliminary decision at this point. We can always revisit if it seems to be, for some reason, I should. That said, obviously, I don't think the defendant, a bond was ever set for the defendant. Were it would be revoked. The prior order allowing him to come in civilian clothes is revoked, given his plea and no longer the presumption of innocence. And in fact, now the actual conviction for the crimes. He will continue to be held at the jail pending sentencing. Is there anything else today?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
I assume the trial date will be vacated
trial
and those
is-
4 jurors will be released.
The trial will be vacated, and I'm sure that the jury commissioner will get word to those that receive their summons that they won't be required to attend. So that said, again, if you would all please wait for the parties and the victims' families and others to leave the courtroom before you do, I would appreciate it. And with that, we're adjourned.
All right.
All right, please.
So he pled guilty, and they will be coming back for sentencing on the 23rd of July, which is in a couple weeks from now. I was just looking at my calendar, and possibly, depending on what time of day it is, they're I think they're on Pacific time. We'll see. I might be able to stream some of it live. It just really all depends on what's going on at my job that day. But I may be able to do that. I am leaving to go on vacation the next day, so we'll see. Usually, if I'm leaving on vacation, I'm catching up on stuff to make sure that I don't walk back into a, shitstorm, basically. So I'm not sure, but I will do my best to. But in other Idaho, this is just the Idaho news show tonight, I guess. Man shot Idaho firefighters who had asked him to move his vehicle, killing 2, sheriff says. Have you guys seen this? This recently, I think it just happened this week or maybe last week. But 2 different people put it on my Discord wanting me to cover this, and this is me covering it. So I have this article and I have another video, but I didn't even plan for all of the news to be coming from Idaho, like the same state and in the same week, but it is. Apparently it is. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. A man who started a wildfire, then fatally shot 2 firefighters and wounded another in northern Idaho was a 20-year-old transient who attacked the first responders after they asked him to move his vehicle, a sheriff said Monday. Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris. If anybody's from Idaho, let me know if I'm mispronouncing that county. I just took a stab at it, So Bob Norris offered new details about the Sunday confrontation at Canfield Mountain, just north of Coeur d'Alene, a popular recreation area. He said Wes Rowley was living out of his vehicle and had once aspired to be a firefighter. Excuse me. Where was I? Okay. Wes Rowley was living out of his vehicle and once aspired to be a firefighter. He had only a handful of minor contacts with area police. We have not been able to find a manifesto, the sheriff said, adding motive was still unknown. Norris said families of the victims are in shock. Absolutely. They're in shock and they're still processing it. I can imagine, you just go to work as a firefighter and apparently he was hiding in the woods, shooting at people. He set the fire to draw the firemen there. Battalion Chief Frank Harward, age 42, who had been with the county fire department for 17 years, was killed. Kootenai County Fire Rescue Chief Christopher Way said during his news conference Monday. Harwood was married and had 2 children, and he also was a veteran of the Army National Guard. Yeah. Horrible. Just horrible.
News out of northern Idaho, where 2 firefighters were murdered, a third wounded in a shocking ambush attack. They were responding to a fire near the city of Coeur d'Alene when they suddenly came under heavy gunfire.
After hours of panic and chaos, a tactical team finding the gunman dead. As Eyewitness News reporter Tim Pulliam tells us, investigators believe he set the fire as a trap for first responders.
A somber processional for the Idaho firefighters shot and killed in an apparent ambush. The attack happening Sunday afternoon, witnesses capturing the thick plume of smoke that led to death and terror. firefighters rushed to put out a reported wildfire in Idaho's Canfield Mountain. But when they arrived, authorities say they were targeted by a gunman who opened fire. Multiple first responders shot and killed. After an hours-long air and ground search for the gunman, authorities confirming Sunday evening the suspected shooter is dead.
Did the suspect shoot himself? Do we know that?
We don't know at this point in time. So the coroner's office will conduct their investigation. We do believe that the suspect started the fire, and we do believe that it was an ambush.
At least one firefighter was rushed to a nearby hospital with gunshot wounds. Idaho's Governor Brad Little releasing a statement that he's heartbroken, adding, "This is a heinous direct assault on our brave firefighters." The FBI now assisting with the crime scene as crews work to get the wildfire under control. We expect to learn more about the identities of the firefighters killed. Right now, a motive is still unclear. Tim Pulliam, ABC 7, Eyewitness News.
So apparently the motive was that they asked him to move his car, which is just crazy, a crazy motive, especially since it doesn't seem like this guy had any sort of record. It wasn't like there was warning signs for this. It said he had minimal contact with police previous to this. I also want to say, as this was happening, I was watching the Twitter feed, and the initial reports for this specific thing, it was saying that the initial reports were saying multiple gunmen, because they were claiming that they saw shots from different directions. So, or they were heard shots coming from different directions, and then all of a sudden, once it was over, they said it was just one guy. Here's some video of them responding to this is them going to put out the fire, I guess. Yeah, just a super sad story. It's always sad when people just doing their job, like just going along there. Like, these are firefighters. They're there to help people. These firefighters are the people who they get that job because they want to help people. I can't think of any other reason why you would want to become a firefighter. It's not super well paid, right? You are putting your life in danger. There are way more high-paying jobs where you put your life in danger. But these people are doing the community a service, and this happened to them. Anyway, I just thought it was something fishy was going on when the first reports were saying multiple shooters. The witnesses were saying they heard shots coming from different directions. Now, I could be wrong. They could have been in a canyon where noise was echoing, stuff like that. I don't know. It just seemed like my initial gut feeling was something seems fishy. I could be wrong. All right, next story. Jacksonville. Going to Jacksonville, Florida. I think we're Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah, Jeff. News 4 Jacks. I do know that that's Jacksonville because I have spent a lot of time in Jacksonville. This says Clay County deputy arrested accused of sexual battery against a woman while responding to, I assume.
Starts right now with a breaking news alert.
Breaking tonight on the 10 o'clock news, the Clay County Sheriff's Office saying it has arrested and fired one of its deputies after he's accused of sexually harassing a woman. Sheriff Michelle Cook there says that the deputy, later identified as 33-year-old Ryan Perry, had 2 other incidents against him.
News for Jax reporter Eric Avenay joining us from Fleming Island with the latest in this developing investigation. Eric?
Yeah, we just walked out of that news conference that was given by Sheriff Michelle Cook, and boy, that she released quite a bit of information onto this. So I got my notes in front of me, so just bear with me. Again, we just walked out of that news conference, but here's what we know so far. On June 18th, the Clay County Sheriff's Office was dispatched to a home in reference to a theft. There were 2 deputies that arrived at that home. One was identified as 33-year-old Ryan Perry, and then there was another deputy that was also dispatched to that home. Now, at some point while inside the home, Sheriff Michelle Cook says that Deputy Perry, or now former Deputy Perry, went upstairs with the woman while the other deputy stayed downstairs. And she says that it was while Deputy Perry was upstairs with the woman who called 911 that he sexually battered her. Now, 3 days later, the sheriff's office was notified about the allegations, and there was immediately an investigation that was conducted. And hours ago, I would just say earlier this evening, Deputy Perry, now former Deputy Perry, was arrested on one count of armed sexual battery. And I have to tell you, this is something that is definitely going to send shockwaves through this community. In fact, during that news conference, Sheriff Michelle Cook was basically honest about how she felt when she had got wind of these allegations. Take a listen to what she had to say.
What was your initial reaction just hearing this? Because like you said, it's just rare.
I'm pissed, devastated, let down. You know, we're here to protect and serve our community, not victimize them.
Now, Deputy Perry had 2 more complaints that were investigated against him. These were previous complaints. To our knowledge, according to the sheriff, none of those complaints were sexual in nature or anything closely related to the allegations that he is facing now. He has been with the sheriff's office since 2018. And one other note, Sheriff Cook wants others, women who are out there who are watching this live report, who are going to see it on our station or see it online. She wants those women to come forward if they have had any similar occurrences or incidents of this nature while that deputy was on patrol. Reporting live in Fleming Island, Eric Avanier, Channel 4.
I kind of wish Legal Fiction was in the chat because I think he's the one that sent me this story, and it's so new that I don't know what the evidence is against this cop. Not that I don't want to believe the woman, but I also know that I covered that case. What was that guy's name? I think it was out of Oklahoma, where the cop was accused of all of these sexual batteries on women. And then when you dug down into each case, it's like, I don't think he did that. Like, I don't think he did any of this. I think they just wanted, they wanted a head on a pike. And they chose him. Like, anyway, I would like to have more information before I condemn the guy, is what I'm saying. That's just me. I see you guys talking about firefighters in the chat. I know a couple of firefighters too. And tell me if I'm wrong, but every single firefighter that I've ever known in my life was in the job to specifically have fulfillment by having a vocation that helps people. Because every single firefighter that I've known, people at my church, my neighbor across the street is a firefighter, and you know, they wanted to help people and they didn't want to be a cop, you know? So anyway, this, I can't remember who sent me this one. Maybe Ace did. I'm not sure, but let's see what happens here. This says, I'm not under arrest. I have a feeling that whoever this is under arrest.
It's confirmed and everything, so go ahead and drop your things. You're under.
Our University Place deputies recently had a close encounter with an armed suspect in possession of an explosive device. Thank goodness that they recognized the suspicious activity and took quick actions, taking him into custody. On July 1st, around 5 p.m., our deputies noticed a suspicious male hanging around an abandoned bank that was clearly marked no trespassing. Deputies learned the male suspect had a warrant out of Fircrest Police Department, and they had probable cause for trespassing.
You do have a confirmed warrant on Fircrest. For what? For theft 3.
Really?
Yes, it's confirmed and everything, so go ahead and drop your things. You're under.
One running southbound.
No! No!
How are you going to do this? Ouch! Over theft third! Put your arms behind your back. Behind your back. Now. Put your arms behind your back. Okay.
Let go.
Hey. Okay. Roll on your stomach. Put your hands behind your back.
Put your hands out.
How much good is this over? You are under arrest. No. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No.
You got the arm?
No.
Get on your stomach now.
No.
Dave.
No.
You're gonna get tased.
No,
You're gonna
don't,
get
please.
tased. Get
Please
your arm
don't
out from
do
underneath you.
Please don't do this. Okay. Please.
On your stomach, Dave.
Please, dude. Please.
Get on your stomach.
Please don't do this. Please.
Get on your stomach.
Please. Roll onto your stomach. Okay.
Roll on your stomach now.
Ow. Okay. Okay.
Done.
Okay.
Get out of the way.
What the fuck is this over?
Wait, let's watch that in slow motion.
Okay, let's do it.
Get out of the way.
No wonder the guy didn't want to roll over on his stomach.
This is stupid.
Get your arm out.
One. Keep incoming priority. He had a gun that we took off.
But you didn't run. That's what happened.
This is stupid. Let go of your hands.
Once the suspect was taken for his search, he was still uncooperative and was hiding drugs in his hands.
Open it up. Damn, break the pinky and shit. You will. Open this one too.
A final search of his backpack led to finding an explosive device. It is very important for the public to understand.
An explosive device. I'm pretty sure that's a firework. I'm pretty sure. Explosive device. Okay. I mean, if that's an explosive device, I was very recently and a lot, hundreds of dollars worth of explosives devices. I blew up the evidence last night. I didn't blow any of it up. The boys blew up all of the evidence last night.
That items like the M80s, sparkler bombs, and tennis ball bombs are considered explosives under the law and not fireworks. Making, using, or possessing.
Literally, the narrator corrected me on air just now. I haven't watched this ahead of time. She just corrected me on air. Okay, they're explosives. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Possessing them is a felony, and we do arrest on them. The gun was also confirmed stolen.
Apparently, News Now Enemy, who was at my house yesterday, filmed it. So please check out his channel. Double check before you upload that it's not doxing me. And then definitely check out his channel to see my fireworks display. It was a lot. It was more, I think, than we've ever had. And we have a 4th of July party every year.
The 42-year-old male suspect will be facing several charges to include possession of stolen property, unlawful possession of drugs, resisting arrest, possession of an explosive device, unlawful possession of a firearm, and criminal trespassing. As we celebrate the 4th of July, please know that the original M80 was a pyrotechnic simulator used for military training decades ago, and it contains about 3 grams of explosive powder. This is way over the legal limit, and it's considered an explosive, not a firework.
Okay. All right, lady. That's fine. It's an explosive. She set me straight. Hi, Mr. Thomas. Yes, I'm doing well, and the puppies are also doing well. There's Zena. There's Ava. They look like they're in need of snacks, but, what are you going to do? All right, I have 2 more stories left. The last one's very short. This one is also apparently pretty short, but let's see what happened here. Polk County deputy accused of stealing cash during a traffic stop. Okay, do you remember that one where that cop stole the cash? We covered it here on this channel. It was not in Florida. Polk County's in Florida, I think. I mean, there might be. I know there is a Polk County in Florida. I think that's where we're at. There might be other Polk counties, but it was in one of the Carolinas, I think. And he tried to take like $900 off of this guy, or out of the guy's like possessions, and shove it in the door of his car. Do you guys remember that one? That was crazy. That was a horrible cop. That was a very bad cop. Apparently, this is another very bad cop. Let's see what happened.
Deputy faces a charge after allegedly stealing from someone during a traffic stop. Fox 13's Carla Byron sat down with Sheriff Grady Judd, who says he is proud of his other deputies who reported the crime.
28-year-old Justin Register resigned from his position as a traffic enforcement deputy Wednesday. The investigation started after a traffic stop near Fort Meade, where Register arrested a driver for driving without a valid license.
And during the course of the investigation,
Oh yeah, this is Polk County, Florida. This is my favorite sheriff. Let's see what Sheriff Judd has to say about this.
And during the course of the investigation, the stepdaughter of the person arrested came and he said, "Hey, take my money so you can bond me out of jail."
Register handed $80 to the daughter, and he should have had $300. Two other deputies assisting with the stop started looking around for the money and found a check stub for $400.
And so he went back to Deputy Register and said, "Hey, this is not adding up."
Register looked in the trunk of his car and, while being watched by one of the deputies, removed the money from a zipper bag.
Then Register announced to everybody, "Oh, here's the money. It must have fallen out in the trunk."
Two other deputies who were assisting with the traffic stop reported the theft. Register was arrested.
It must have fallen out during the stop and zippered itself up in my gym bag. What? They shouldn't have allowed this man to resign. They needed to fire his ass. Ridiculous.
In charge with petty theft, a misdemeanor. Sheriff Judd says the investigation is far from over. Now they have to audit all of Register's arrests and traffic stops since his employment in 2018.
It makes me so angry I could chew the bark off of oak trees because this guy betrayed the community trust.
Register was also a drug recognition expert and was recognized for making more than 200 DUI arrests. So the sheriff says all of those cases may be in jeopardy. He's working with the state attorney.
Let me get this straight. He's a drug and alcohol recognition expert. So he's the one that they call out when somebody's wasted and can't remember how much money they have or where they put it or what's going on. So I imagine it'd be very easy for him to steal a lot of money if people are driving around with cash or jewelry or anything like that, for stuff to just go missing all the time. This pisses me off. I'm not going to chew any trees, Grady Judd, but I'm also pissed off.
To review them.
So at the end of the day, he's messed his life up. But our deputies that caught him did the right thing.
In Polk County, Carla Byron, Fox 13 News.
If anyone has any information on Register's conduct related to any of his investigations, they are urged to contact the sheriff's office.
See, that's the thing, is he should not be allowed to be a cop anywhere else. But because he resigned, he will just go to the next county over, the next city over, the next state over, and become a cop again. Guarantee it. It happens all the time. And for way worse things than stealing $300, for like horrible crimes, they resign and can just move to the next place, over and over and over again. I was just watching this documentary about a nurse. Maybe I might cover it on my channel, like an in-depth episode. But I just watched, I think it was a Netflix documentary, one of the streaming service documentary about a nurse who was suspected of killing people, but instead of firing this dude, they would just let him resign. He was at 9 different hospitals, killed 30-something people that we know of, possibly up to 400 people, because nobody would put their foot down and take responsibility for this guy and get him arrested because they didn't want to have the bad publicity at the hospital. So they just would let him resign and move him on to the next place. Ridiculous. It happens with nurses. It happens with doctors. It happens with cops. Sorry, I'm a little animated. All right, we need a happy story for the end. A little bit of cheer and sunshine. Erica sent me this video of an albino deer. I don't know if you know this about my dogs, but Ava, who is this one, has a friend who's a deer who comes up to our fence. It's happened twice so far, where I'll look out the window because she's being too quiet out there and I don't trust her. And she's just nose to nose with this deer that walks up to our fence and tries to steal our blueberries, or does steal our blueberries, but because they're right along the fence line. And Yeah, she's made friends with a deer. If I can get it on camera, I will show it to you guys. But every time I move to a place where I might be able to capture it on camera, the deer hears me and takes off. So I did have a picture the other day I put up of the deer in our front yard. That's Ava's friend. That's that deer. But I need to capture it with them together. There's not a surveillance camera that points that way. So what are you going to do? All right, let's see this albino deer.
Sighting of an albino deer in Jefferson County. The white-colored deer was spotted roaming with a friend on a quiet suburban road about 20 minutes south of St. Louis. Albinism in deer is regarded as rare. A spokesperson for the Missouri Department of Conservation says that estimates suggest that just 1 in 30,000 has that particular condition. And in Missouri, this rare sighting of an albino
the newscaster's like, albinoism in deer is rare. Yeah, it is in everyone, in all species, and in every single one of God's creatures. It's not like the norm, right? So, yes, it's also rare in deer. So there is that. Anyway, guys, that's the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back here Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern for a wonderful episode of Booze and Body Cams. I've seen a lot of good videos in our chat. I haven't looked at any of them yet because, like I said, I've had people here and stuff. But I've been reading the headlines. I've been reading the titles. So it looks like we're going to have a great show Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. I really hope to see all of you there. And I look forward to it. And until then, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend and a great start to your week. Bye, guys.